Three people warming themselves by the fire. They stare into the flames, as if their thoughts were also burning in that rusty old drum. What the hell is that old man trying to do with that enormous pair of bolt cutters? He can hardly get his hands around them. A few buildings are still standing, but most of them are propped up or about to fall down, with a handful of city dwellers in the street that look like automatons or sleepwalkers. But there's no doubt about it. I'm on the 5th Avenue of Doomsday City. The traffic in this part of the city must have been especially heavy, but now you can barely hear the sound of the few army vehicles still circulating in the surrounding areas. Judging from what remains of the stained glass windows and the murals, this pile of rubble must have been a place of worship before the Great Wave struck. Now it's one of the most badly damaged buildings in the area. There are hardly any walls still standing.
Hello, friend. You look lost. Come over by the fire.
It's dying down, but maybe it'll last until curfew.
As long as those uniformed psychopaths don't decide to end our little get-together first, of course.
Hey, look! One of those magic bracelets from the camp. They say that place is a real hellhole. A kind of living death. So, you've come back from the dead. Do they call you Lazarus?
Well, you could put it that way. You were saying something about a curfew. What time does it start exactly?
Well, it depends on the mood of the soldiers in this zone. But you know it's time to go home when they start taking their guns out of their holsters.
Today they're extremely jumpy. I don't think it'll be long before they start insulting people and hitting them with their rifle butts.
You guys are awfully hard on them. It's just their crude way of showing us affection.
Oh, shut up! In any case, you don't have to worry. That bracelet means you don't have to hide from them. You know that's one of the privileges that comes with it.
And you? Do you people have to hide?
We try to stay out of their way. The first rule is be home before curfew. Anyone who isn't gets dragged off to refugee camp. That's one of the strictest laws the Great Wave imposed upon this city.
And do you know how things are elsewhere? Do you get news from outside?
I'm afraid not. With no communications or transportation, and with the army on every corner, we are totally cut off.
Who cares anyway? When you don't know from one day to the next if you're gonna be alive, there's no time to worry about what happens 100, 1,000, or 100,000 miles away.
I understand. Why are you afraid of the soldiers? I'd heard that things function better here.
I don't know where you heard that, friend, but whoever told you that was lying. Here, things are very ugly and getting uglier every day. Everything's in short supply: water, food, medicine.
We have a surplus of just two things: misery and violence. Life is cheap here, and getting cheaper all the time, especially since the army took over.
The army. I see. And what happened to the other authorities? The politicians? The laws?
Those are distant memories from the old world, my dear. Get them out of your head, because all that collapsed like a house of cards. Since the Great Wave, no one's got any plan, strategy. We're all adrift.
He's right. The most reliable thing we have left is what you see around the corner. Armed teenagers in uniform on the streets, on the rooftops, just as scared as we are, or more, and shooting anything that moves.
I think our common destiny is to finally die of starvation, of disease, or boredom. I don't know which of the three options I find the most cruel. Who knows? Maybe the most sensible thing is to organize a group excursion and break into Suicide Park.
Suicide Park? Don't call it that. It's not funny. That name's as stupid as that hospital they built in such a hurry next to it. It's crazy. The entire city is starving and sick, and the soldiers keep those medical facilities locked up like Fort Knox.
But what good is it having medical facilities if no one can use them? I don't understand.
No one does, friend. That's the way it is. I don't know why anyone would want to go into that building, but I can assure you that they're not going to get treated for anything in there, not even for a miserable cold.
Besides, it's a real fortress. The person will be more likely to come out sick from an overdose of gunpowder and lead. You know how it is, dear. There's no cure for love or death. Hey, I like that last phrase. It would make a good opening line for a story.
Oh, will you shut up for once, Ramon? Don't pay any attention to him. In the old world, he earned his living writing stories, and he still thinks that all that waste paper might someday be useful after the Great Wave.
And in fact, it is. A good deal of that scrap paper is fueling this bonfire right now, dear. So I can consider my literary career to have been worthwhile.
Did you say Suicide Park? Someone in the camp told me this.
And the first stars come out to hang from the sky. We could sit and count them together.
When the sun departs, Suicide Park. Yes, I recognize the song. But what the hell is it? Is there really a place with that name?
Yes, it exists. After the Great Wave, when things were starting to get really ugly, the weakest among eased their suffering with a bullet, by overdosing, or by hype. You know how it is. All those stars had a hard time finding a reason to go on living.
There was a terrible wave of suicides, and there still is.
The problem is at some point a problem arose. How should I put it? A serious logistical problem. Access to drugs and firearms became practically impossible. So the easiest thing was to grab a rope or a belt and go to Suicide Park after dark.
There was a time when it was hard to find a free branch anywhere in the park.
The suicides in the area multiplied at such a rate that the army closed down the park. They said for public health reasons.
For months, the only thing blooming in that park were the corpses of the hanged. The place became more like a theme park. Lots of fun for everyone.
I told you not to make jokes about that. Don't you have any respect for anything?
Of course not. That was one of the many things I lost in the Great Wave. And one of the things I missed the least, believe me.
Thanks for the chat.
Thanks for the company, friend.
Help me, please! Help me! Don't let them find me in the street after curfew. They'll take me to the refugee camp. Help me, please! But don't make any noise. There's a patrol just round the corner.
But what does he need me to do?
It's almost curfew. I need a place to sleep. I need a place to hide, or they'll send me to the refugee camp. Don't you understand?
What is all this about curfew?
At curfew, the soldiers want the street clear. And the way they see it, if you're out on the street after curfew means that you've got nowhere to go. You don't have a home, don't belong here. And that makes you a rat. So they take you to G camp. I can't go to the camp. Understand? I can't go there.
You need a roof over your head. You don't have anywhere.
I used to. It doesn't exist anymore. I owned an apartment a few blocks from here. The block was badly damaged by the Great Wave, but it was still standing.
And what happened to your home?
This morning we had to evacuate the area in a hurry. We ran out of streets with whatever we had on. Apparently, the foundation was starting to crumble. And a few hours later, all that was left of my home was rubble, with 40 years of memory beneath it. But I can't let them take me to the camp. I need to get into another house before the curfew. Please, help me.
Okay. Give me those bolt cutters. I'll see what I can do.
This house was empty, but the army has sealed it off. If I can get this padlock off before curfew, I'll be safe. I need to get in here. But please don't make too much noise. If the soldiers find us, they won't hesitate to kill us.
Impossible. All right, I'm sorry. I can't do anything with this.
I need to get in there. I need to get in.
I'm looking for a place. Like some sort of pharmaceutical warehouse. Would you know anything about that?
I don't really know. There's a small medical center just outside the city limits. I suppose you mean that, right? They built it in a hurry. Just knocked it together after the Great Wave. No one really knows what it's for. But there are vehicles going in and out of the place all the time. Whatever they're doing in there, they're keeping it very secret. Not even my daughter would tell me what goes on inside.
Did you say your dog?
Yes, my daughter. My little Uma. She works there as a nurse. I'm afraid she left me. I suppose she got tired of living with a frail man like me. Because one day she simply left the house, and I haven't seen her since. It's been months now. I think she was right to leave me. These times are hard enough. You don't want to burn yourself with someone like me.
I'm sorry. I can't help you.
Help me, please.
It's a post advertising an insurance company. The slogan is, there's something familiar about this poster. I even swear that I actually remember for the first time since I woke up. I can say that I can remember something hazy related to this image. But what is... A dirty window of ground level ventilation. It's the only opening this building's basement has to the outside. Tomorrow comes today. There's something about the composition that's strange, or maybe it's just a memory glitch caused by the Great Wave. I can't help staring at it. It's as if there's some hidden message in the back. What the heck? It's a silhouette of the soldiers guarding the street from around the corner. It seems like those uniformed psychopaths' rifles are projected into each and every corner of the city. Judging from what remains of the stained windows and the murals, how visible must have been a place before the Great Wave struck. Now it's one of the most badly damaged buildings in the area. There are hardly any walls standing. What was formerly the entrance to a subway stop is now reinforced with bricks and cement. A moldy sign says, "Subway service suspended until further." I imagine the street flooded or ruined by the Great Wave. A metal sign bolted to the wall. It's the logo of the local subway. And from what I can see, let's see. I can try to rip it off. Nothing. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to get it off with my hands. It's one of the ways into the city's sewer system. The Great Wave wrecked this place. Did the same thing happen down there? So, let's see. Impossible. It's not that it's super heavy. It's that there's hardly any place to insert your fingers to lift this manhole cover. This fence protects the compound on all four sides, as impenetrable and menacing as the one around the refugee camp. It seems like barbed wire barricades are the only architecture possible in this new world. A bucolic fountain covered with ivy and moss. The park's desolation gives it an air of mystery from this side of the fence. In its day, it must have been home to a school of goldfish, which I suppose are now gradually decomposing inside it. Closed for public health reasons is written on this piece of wood nailed to the stump. Wait a minute. Health with no A? Judging from its girth, this giant must have lived for hundreds of years before someone got the bright idea of cutting it down. Now the stump is guarding the entrance to the park. Southside Park. Would you believe it? This must be the famous suicide park I've been hearing so much about. Huh. The pun is as witty as it is macabre. The park is closed down, and the front gate is locked shut. If I want to get in there, it won't be through the gate. It's strange. The soil here seems darker and less packed than the soil around it. In fact, the mud in this part of the ground is a bit damp and mushy. My fingers even leave marks in it when I touch it.
Send us a sign, Lord. We need a sign from you.
Hey, wait a minute. I know that voice.
Are we guilty of arousing your rage? Did we do it? Speak with your tongue of fire, Lord. Purge us with unrelenting justice. Send us a sign. Is this our doing? Are you punishing us for our arrogance? Unleash your thunderous voice, Lord. Release us from this intolerable uncertainty. Did we do it? Send us a sign.
I'm getting a strong impression that man's a fanatic and a little bit deranged. But his sermon made me curious. What could he mean by, we did it?
Did we do it? Are we the guilty ones?
Oh no. It's starting again. It's amazing. Everything's changing. Everything. Everything is mutating, and I haven't even moved. I don't understand. I don't understand anything. A few parishioners listened to the words of the preacher, mesmerized, although I'm sure that, like me, they can't decipher the meaning of his mystical rants either.
The lion above the flames. We still have time.
Seated on these disarranged pews, some people are listening to the preacher. Others just nod off. I guess they don't have anywhere else to go. That must be Reverend Blake, the preacher I heard about in the camp. I don't understand a word of that man's sermon, and I'm afraid the other faithful don't either. Could that be the reason why everyone reveres him so much? I'm not going to interrupt him in the middle of his sermon. That would be rude.
The thunderous voice of
This column fragment must have fallen off one of the walls during the catastrophe. Now it's keeping the pedestal of the statue company. The only statue in this place still standing. It's Saint... what's his name? Patron saint of... who knows what. I'm afraid that if I ever was a believer, all that information has also been blanked. Considering the condition of the rest of the church, it's amazing that the stained glass window is still in place and practically intact. Such little light that gets in from the street gives it a ghostly appearance.
Did we do it? Are we the guilty ones?
The catastrophe caused a lot of damage to the statue's pedestal. The fact that the statue is still standing is a miracle.
The ruins of the temple, the lion above the flames. We still have time.
Let's see. If I wedge one of the ends of the plank under the statue's pedestal, the other part will rest directly on the base of the toppled column.
With your fiery voice, Lord, send us a sign. We're waiting, Lord. Did we do it? Illuminate us. Send us a sign with your just and vengeful arm. Is this our fault? Listen! It's the fiery breath of God. The Lord has sent us his sign. And I was right. It is all our fault. We did it, and we have aroused his fury.
But what the hell's going on here?
Look, that's the sign. Forgive us, Lord. Forgive us. Repent, all ye sinners.
It's the atmospheric phenomenon I've been hearing so much about. That infernal sound coming from the crack in the sky. It's terrifying.
That is the sign. We did it. Forgive us, Lord. Forgive us. My children, God has spoken to us with his darkest voice. Haven't you heard him? But there's still time. All is not lost. We still have time. Salvation lies in the place where it all began, in the ruins, at the source. We must return to the ruins of the temple. We must return. We must.